Peace, family. Y'all know who it is. It's Dr. Bakari K. Lumumba, progenitor of LumumbaSpeaks.com, a Black empowerment initiative where we believe we can gain a competitive advantage, but always betting on Black. Back once again in conjunction with Bequalon Network, the Pan African social media extraordinaire, in the home of African centered news and information. And we're here, family, for part 10. That's right, part 10 of our groundbreaking Pan African leadership series, Past, Present, and Future, where we chronicle the life, legacy, and most importantly, the work of Pan Africans of the past in order to make a better world for African people in the future. So if you're watching, family, make sure you hit the subscribe and like button. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Make sure you hit the notification bell for future videos. Once again, you're watching Lumumba Speaks in conjunction with Bequalon Network, the Pan African social media extraordinaire, in the home of African centered news and information. And this, of course, is part 10 of our Pan African leadership series, part 10, family, of what may be a 200-part series, right? We believe that we have a number of individuals that we will need to chronicle on this journey, and so we're happy that you all are going to be taking this journey with us. But today we're going to be discussing, of course, the life, legacy, and most importantly, the work of Ahmed Ben Bella. Many of you may be unfamiliar with who he is, but Ahmed Ben Bella, was an Algerian politician, soldier, and socialist revolutionary who served as the head of government of Algeria from 27 September 1962 until, give me one second, family, until 15 September 1963. And then the first president of Algeria from 15 September 1963 to 19 June 1965. And he was born, of course, December 25th, 1916 in Algeria. Hope that many of you could tap in and be part of the conversation, because we're going to be, of course, honoring a Pan-Africanist who was not an African, right? He was an Arab who was living in North Africa. And we're going to kind of get into why we're honoring him and why this is important, right? So definitely hope you all could tap in and be part of the conversation. But before we get started, family, we have to go over the ground rules here at, of course, Lumumba Speaks and Bequalon Network. Number one, diversity of thought is welcome. Irrespective of you're on the left, you're on the right, or you're right down the middle, this is a conversation that we want people to be part of, irrespective of your political views. Number two, no racial epithets, no epithets of any kind. I actually had a conversation with a brother this morning about that very issue, but no epithets of any kind. This, of course, is a space of Black empowerment. We believe in the 3 N's of Black power: self-respect, self-defense, and, of course, self-determination. Number three, facts over feelings, family. So if someone taps in, you disagree with them, attack the argument, not the person. To not do so is juvenile. And of course, we don't engage in ad hominem attacks. And then, of course, last but not least, no fundamentally false statements. If you tap in, you can provide your opinion, but you can't make a claim that's patently false. For example, you could believe that LeBron James is the GOAT. However, if you were to make the claim that LeBron James was the GOAT simply because Michael Jordan only won 2 championships, that would be a fundamentally false statement. And I would have to tap in and make sure that we address that issue. Last but not least, family, our mission here at Bequalon Network in Lumumba Speaks is neither to exonerate or vilify, but to challenge conventional wisdom and re-examine what has previously been accepted as fact. So, family, the link is in the description. I'll put the link in the chat. And we're going to have a conversation about Ahmed Ben Bella, once again, Algerian socialist revolutionary politician, and of course, Pan-Africanist, right? Former head of government of Algeria and the first president of Algeria. So he transitioned, if I believe correctly, yes, at the age of 95 in April 11th, 2012, of course, in Algiers, Algeria. So I'm going to provide some information about Ahmed Ben Bella. Give me one second, family. So during the 3 years of his government, Ben Bella declared his intention to develop a socialist Algeria. However, the Algerian Communist Party and the Party of Socialist Revolution, and eventually all political parties, were prohibited by the National Liberation Movement and declared only a one-party country. The Algerian General Workers Union was also incorporated into the National Liberation Movement. Excuse me. Oh, I feel like I'm about to sneeze. Excuse me. And after overwhelming referendum vote, so let's get to what really matters here. In the course of its Algeria's struggle against French colonial rule, the FLN had made clear that it was for the unity of all those fighting against imperialism and was especially concerned about Pan-African unity. It became a founding member of the Afro-Asian People's Solidarity Organization in 1957. In 1958, participated with observer status at the Conference of Independent African States held in Accra. From that time on, the organization became more closely aligned with Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana, particularly in opposition to the most conservative leadership of several Francophone African countries, which tended to openly support or were reluctant to oppose French rule in Algeria. The GPRA attended the 1961 Casablanca Conference and was formally recognized as the legitimate government of Algeria. Henceforth, it was regarded as belonging to the more radical Casablanca group of African countries, including Ghana, the United Arab Republic, and Guinea. Following the Sharpeville massacre, it had been one of the first African organizations to propose an economic boycott of South Africa and to advocate military support to those opposed to the South African government. The FLN also developed friendly relations with Cuba and openly opposed what it referred to as an Israeli Zionism in the Middle East. At its Tripoli conference in 1962, the FLN reaffirmed its foreign policy was anti-imperialist in orientation and also made it clear to support the non-aligned movement, of which it became a leading member. So we're talking about, of course, the Cold War. At his inaugural speech at the UN in 1962, Ben Bella stressed that in Africa, the credo of Algeria's political and diplomatic action would be the liquidation of colonialism in both its classic and disguised forms. Based on this principle, his government was soon giving military support, training, and finance to the African liberation movements, fighting against Portuguese colonialism and those waging the anti-apartheid struggle in South Africa. Both the African National Congress and the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania had offices in Algiers, as did the Southwest African People's Organization, the Movimento Popular de la so that's in Portuguese, right? The Zimbabwe African National Union, and of course, Zimbabwe African People's Union, and several other liberation organizations. At the founding conference of the Organization of African Unity, in 1963, Ben Bella played a prominent role in establishing the African Liberation Committee that was designed to coordinate support for liberation struggles throughout Africa. Indeed, he argued that the signing of the OAU Charter would remain a dead letter if we do not give unconditional support to Angola, South Africa, Southern Africa, Mozambique, and Portuguese Guinea. Unconditional support, which these people under colonial rule have the right to expect from us. He added that African unity depends largely on an efficient solidarity with those who are still fighting for freedom. Algeria became one of the 9 members of the ALC, and Ben Bella's government immediately donated 100 million francs to its finances. After the OAU conference, Algeria incorporated the OAU Charter into its constitution. It was one of the first countries to implement the OAU's decision to boycott Portuguese and South African goods. Ben Bella's government closed down the Portuguese consulate in Algiers and offered support to those who were fighting against Portuguese dictatorships. He came to be seen as one of the leading advocates of the Third World and had a high international profile. He was about to host the second Afro-Asian Conference in 1965 when he was overthrown by a military coup. So just a little information on, of course, Ben Bella. Tap in, family. The link is in the description. The link is in the chat. I want to hear from you all in terms of what are your thoughts about, of course, his legacy, particularly providing financial support and military support to our brothers and sisters who were fighting against colonialism and neocolonialism on the continent. We know oftentimes many leaders, particularly when they find themselves in a position of power, will give lip service, right, regarding helping other African people fight for their liberation. But he didn't do that. He didn't provide lip service. He actually provided material support. And I think that's something to consider when we talk about doing what we can to make the world better for African people in the future. Once again, family, if you're watching, make sure you tap in. You're watching the Pan-African Leadership Series, Part 10, Past, Present, and Future, and we're chronicling the life, legacy, and of course the work of Ahmed Ben Bella, former head of state of Algeria and the first president of Algeria, who was so believed in Pan-Africanism so much that he incorporated the Organization of African Unity's charter into the Algerian Constitution, right? And of course, contributed 100 million francs to liberation struggles on the continent, and of course had a high international profile regarding leading this concept of the Third World and the non-aligned movement. So definitely want to give a shout out to him. I want some people to tap in. Let us know if you are familiar with him. If you are familiar with Ahmed Ben Bella, put a 1 in the chat. If you're familiar with him, put a 2 in the chat. If you were not familiar with him, I'm familiar with the fact that Malcolm X meeting Ahmed Ben Bella and actually having conversations with him is what caused Malcolm X to change some of his views regarding understanding that someone could be a Pan-Africanist, right, on the African continent, but not be ethnically African. Of course, Ahmed Ben Bella was an Arab. There are some conversations that people have in terms of him seeking to Arabicize, Algeria. But that may be a conversation for another day. But what we definitely want, of course, is focus on is the work. And I would argue that he supported Pan-Africanist movements, African liberation movements, in more ways than simply rhetoric, particularly in terms of incorporating the OAU Constitution into the Algerian Constitution and providing material support, sometimes food, clothing, weapons, and of course, resources, financial resources to brothers and sisters on the continent fighting against, of course, the vicissitudes of colonialism. So tap in, family. The link is in the description. The link is in the chat. As you all know, you do not have to cam up to be part of the conversation, and you can use a pseudonym to protect your identity. So we'd love to hear from you all. Once again, put a 1 in the chat if you're familiar with Ahmed Ben Bella. Put a 2 in the chat if you are unfamiliar with him. One of the things that we think that this leadership series will allow us to do is help inform individuals about who are some of the prominent, of course, Pan-Africanists throughout the history of the movement, but also to educate people about Pan-Africanism. You know, oftentimes there are a number of individuals who promote misinformation, false information that, of course, is adverse to facts regarding Pan-Africanism. And we can argue that individuals do that for a number of reasons that in our community and outside of our community. But we believe it's of utmost importance to have this conversation. So once again, family, the link's in the description. The link is in the chat. You're watching LumumbaSpeaks.com, a Black Empowerment Initiative where we believe we could gain a competitive advantage by always betting on Black, in conjunction, of course, with Beacon Network, the Pan-African social media extraordinaire, and the home of African-centered news and information. And we are chronicling part 10 of our groundbreaking Pan-African leadership series, Past, Present, and Future, where we chronicle great Pan-Africans of the past in order to learn how to make a better world for African people in the future. This is part 10. And of course, we're highlighting and lifting up and giving flowers to, of course, Ahmed Ben Bella, the first president of Algeria, and of course, former head of state of Algeria, who allowed his government, of course, was a key contributor to not only Pan-Africanism, Pan-African unity on the continent, but also supporting revolutionary counter colonial movements on the continent. So once again, family, tap in, be part of the conversation. Would love to hear from you all. Okay, regarding Ahmed Ben Bella, right? Little known Pan-Africanist, but we believe someone that we should chronicle and be aware of. So once again, family, tap in, be part of the conversation. The link is in the description. The link is in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat. Once again, put a 1 in the chat if you are unaware. Put a 1 in the chat if you are aware of who Ahmed Ben Bella was before this broadcast. Put a 2 in the chat. Put a 2 in the chat, family, if you were not aware of Ahmed Ben Bella, family. And so we would definitely love to hear from you all. Also, I'm going to share this book here. Many people may ask, where do you get your information? And how can I learn about different Pan-Africanists? I'm going to share this book here. And of course, it's online. I have the paper copy, but you don't even have to purchase text now. It's online. This is a great book by Hakeem Adi and Marika Sherwood, Pan-African History, Political Figures from Africa and the Diaspora since 1787. And so this is a chance for you, if you're interested in learning about some of the key figures, of course, of the movement. You can check out that book. Once again, it is Pan-African History, Political Figures from Africa and the Diaspora since 1787 by Hakeem Adi and, of course, Marika Sherwood. And if I'm familiar, Hakeem Adi is a lecturer, professor at a institution in the UK. Yes, he's a senior lecturer in African and Black British history at Middlesex University in London. He's a founder and member and currently chair of the Black and Asian Studies Association. As the author of West Africans in Britain, Nationalism, Pan-Africanism, and Communism. All right. Marika Sherwood is a senior research fellow at the Institute of Commonwealth Studies, University of London. She's a founder, member, and secretary of the Black and Asian Studies Association. Her most recent books are Claudia Jones, A Life in Exile, and Kwame Nkrumah, 10 Years Abroad, 1935 to 1947. So once again, family, hope to hear from you all. If not, we're going to, of course, cut things short, but wanted to make sure that we took a chance. I gave ourselves a chance to, of course, honor one of the great Pan-Africanists who was truly committed to African liberation, not just for his country, not for his own ethnic group or his subset ethnic group in Africa, but for all African people. So I think anytime someone commits their life, dedicates their life to African redemption, to African freedom from foreign oppression and tyranny, I think we need to make sure that we take time to give that individual their flowers. And of course, maybe ironically, he was born December 25th, so many of us look at December 25th as Christmas, of course, in 1916. So we're talking about 109 years ago. So he is, of course, he went on to the ancestors 13 years ago. But we want to make sure that we took some time to honor the legacy, the life legacy, and most importantly, the work of Ahmed Ben Bella. Of course, after the coup, he was arrested, put on house arrest for a significant period of time, and then lived abroad for many years until he was elderly in age. But we definitely wanted to highlight someone who didn't simply pay lip service to the movement of Pan-Africanism and African redemption, freedom from foreign oppression, but someone who actually put the work in and actually did provide material support, financial resources, weapons, food, etc., to different movements who were fighting against colonialism, different organizations that were fighting against colonialism on the continent. And so that's someone who truly has a vested interest in African redemption on the continent. So family, that is all we're going to tap out, but I truly wish you all would have at least engaged the chat. Let us know if you were familiar with Ahmed Ben Bella by putting a 1 in the chat and putting the 2 in the chat if you were not familiar with him prior to this broadcast. But unfortunately, it may be the middle of the day, so a lot of individuals may be busy, working, etc. But we hope to hear from you all soon. Until next time, family, y'all know what to do. Always bet on Black. Peace. Before you go, make sure you hit the subscribe and like button. Thank you for supporting the channel. And remember, here at Lumumba Speaks, we always bet on Black. Peace.